Hello and welcome to another episode of ScotlandShop on the Sofa. I'm Amy and I work in our marketing department, and joining me today is Emily to chat about all things Scottish Christmas traditions.
Hi, I'm Emily. I've been here at ScotlandShop a long time now, and over the years I've worked in almost every department. For the last few years I've been working alongside Amy in our marketing department, although I'm just getting ready to move across the pond to upstate New York to help set up our new store in Albany. So there's a good chance this could be my last Christmas in Scotland for a wee while. So if anyone has any American traditions they think I need to know about, then do let us know in the comments. Anyway, here in Scotland we love Christmas and have many traditions that are celebrated throughout the country, and along with many traditions that we've stolen from other countries. So today we're going to be talking you through a few of our favourite Christmas pastimes, as well as the story of Christmas in Scotland.
You'd be mistaken for thinking Christmas has always been widely celebrated in Scotland, but in fact Christmas was banned here for nearly 400 years.
Crazy.
Let us take you through the story. This all first came about when Oliver Cromwell ruled the United Kingdom during the 1600s, as it was his parliament who put the initial ban on Christmas. When Cromwell fell from power, the ban was lifted throughout the UK, with the exception of Scotland, where John Knox, founder of the Presbyterian Church of Scotland, decided to keep the ban in place. There were punishments in place for celebrating Yuletide, and it was even officially removed from the Scottish calendar.
Yeah.
Pretty serious.
I know. And so then the ban was officially removed in 1712, meaning you would no longer face punishment for celebrating. However, it was still highly frowned upon by the church. So this really only started to change in 1958, when Christmas Day was officially recognised as a public holiday in Scotland. As before this, really it had just been another working day. And since it had been banned for so long, few adults exchanged presents. However, thankfully some children would receive small treats, and some families did decorate with boughs of holly.
My granddad, who was born in 1928, actually doesn't remember celebrating Christmas as a child, which is really sad, actually.
It is, isn't it?
I only discovered this last year when I was asking about his own Christmas traditions, and he remembers it becoming a public holiday in Scotland.
Yeah, would you think that was a big news story at the time?
It must have been, yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm going to have to ask my granddad about this too as well, because, yeah, it's just so bizarre to us to think that in their lifetime Christmas has become one of the biggest days in our calendar. So, yeah, when they were wee, their parents didn't even get the day off work. So,
no, it's so crazy.
Very glad they came to the right decision to allow us to celebrate.
So back then it was Hogmanay that was the special occasion in Scottish families' households. Perhaps this is why we have a reputation of hosting the best New Year celebrations in the world.
Very proud of that.
Yeah, we'll be delving into the traditions of Edinburgh's Hogmanay in next week's On the Sofa.
So let's start with the most exciting of the Christmas traditions, food. So for all of those years that Christmas was banned, so was the baking of festive treats. So you weren't even allowed to go and buy festive treats from the bakers. And the bakeries were required to report anyone who requested festive bakes to the authorities so that they could face punishment. So one of the foods that was banned was called Yule bread, and that was an unleavened bread loaf made using caraway seeds and plaited to form a circle, which is said to represent the sun. Guess because it was dark at the time, so they wanted some sunlight.
Yeah.
And it was tradition that each member of the family had their own loaf, and whoever found a trinket in their loaf had good luck all year.
Oh, wow.
So while people still make Yule bread today, the tradition of hiding a charm for good luck is more often associated with Christmas pudding or the gluty dumpling. That's what I knew it as, is the treat in the Christmas pudding.
Oh,
so,
okay. I've never really heard of that before. So.
Yeah. Well, I think every family is going to do it differently, aren't they? But yeah, so that's where that's said to come from. But a slightly darker tale says that the loaves were also placed under the beds of newborns, and that spirits would have to count the seeds found in the bread, which then distracted them from stealing the child. So I don't know what was meant to happen if you didn't have the Yule bread under their bed. Maybe
I suppose they stole the child.
Yeah, so anyway, that's a slightly darker tale.
Yeah.
So yes, if you're making Yule bread, then you have to find a recipe that includes those caraway seeds.
Yeah. So carrying on with that Yuletide theme, the Yule log tradition dates back to Viking times. On the shortest day of the year, pagans would burn a specially selected Yule log with the charred remains from the previous year's log, and all who sat around the burning fire would have good luck and prosperity throughout the year.
That's good.
Yeah. Today, Yule logs are most commonly thought of as a chocolate roulade cake, which acts as a fantastic, show-stopping Christmas dessert. No one is exactly sure how the Yule log became a popular dessert, but it's a great nod to our pagan ancestors and a very tasty treat for the family.
Yeah, not being a big fan of Christmas pudding, I'd definitely be happy to see a Yule log on my Christmas table.
I'm not a big fan of Christmas pudding either.
So yeah, this is a very popular one.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And while we're still talking food, one of our favourite topics in the Scotland Shop office, of course. So mince pies have always caused a lot of confusion, containing a mixture of dried fruits even and spices called mincemeat, opposed to the ground beef mince that traditionally pies would have contained. So it said that previously they contained both the meat as well as the fruit and spices, but then over the years the meat has been dropped. So as with Yule bread, bakers were forbidden to prepare these pies as well, and the small size of mince pies came about as the little pies made it a lot easier to hide them from the prying eyes of the church.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
I always used to get really confused when people talked about mince pies at Christmas, as I didn't really grow up eating them at Christmas time. Like my mum didn't make them, but my granny used to make a mince meat pie, which I absolutely loved. So whenever I would go anywhere and they were serving mince pies, I would get really excited because I thought it was going to be a mince meat pie, and I was pretty disappointed when I discovered it was made with fruit.
Yeah, you're not a big fan of fruit.
No, I'm not a big fan of fruit.
Well, and you'd think being vegetarian that I'd be the opposite and totally delighted to find out the pies didn't have meat and did have fruit, but dried fruit I'm just not a huge fan of. So whenever we used to make them at home, my mum always let me fill a few of the pie cases with either jam or Nutella so I could enjoy those. So
that sounds yummy. Yeah. I would like that kind of pie.
Yeah, exactly. So not really that traditional, but at least I got to enjoy something at the same time.
Exactly. So moving on from food, the Celts had a similar tradition to the pagans' Yule log, except they took it slightly further with the tradition of the ceilidh, or Old Woman Winter, a log carved with the face of an old woman, also known as the Hag of Winter, who was said to bring the long nights and cold. By burning the log, the Celts were banishing any lingering bad luck, as well as banishing the cold and darkness.
Yeah, I know. It's an interesting word, isn't it? Because it looks like ceilidh, but I'm not sure if it's like caliac. So if anyone knows, so yes, the old Hag of Winter. So yeah, you would want to banish all that away and look forward to the summer coming.
Yeah.
So similarly to that, burning a rowan tree branch also became a popular tradition, and that was a way to clear any bad feelings between friends and family. So the tree itself was said to bring protection to the area that it grew, and that might be why it's the chosen plant badge for clans Malcolm and MacLachlan. And in Scots Gaelic, its name is Carron, which can be seen across the Highlands with place names like Ben Carron in Inverness-shire and Loch Carron in Easter Ross. So again, if you're a Gaelic speaker, you can correct our pronunciation. But yeah, so there you go. If you want some protection, then get some rowan trees in your garden.
So a tradition that's much more popular throughout the Western world is kissing under the mistletoe. Mistletoe was very popular with the pagans at this time of year, as they brought greenery into their homes as a symbol of life during the dark winter nights. However, the potential origins of kissing under the mistletoe came from the Norse mythology, with a tale of the god Baldur, whose mother Frigg cast a spell to ensure no plant grown on earth could harm her son.
Oh, that's very nice of her.
So the only plant her spell didn't reach was mistletoe, as it doesn't grow out of the earth but instead from a tree. When another Norse god, Loki, discovered this, he created a spear from mistletoe which killed Balder. Following his death, Frigg declared mistletoe to be a symbol of love for her son and promises to kiss anyone who passes underneath it. Mistletoe is also the plant badge for Clan Hay, who own Duns Castle, just a few miles from our HQ here in Duns.
Yeah, I know. Anna and I were lucky enough to visit Duns Castle in the summer, but yeah, I had no idea that's where kissing under the mistletoe came from. You would never think from Norse
such a crazy story,
mythology.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Oh well, we need to remember that if you're getting any mistletoe this year. And with Christmas celebrations growing in popularity ever since the Victorian era, more on that later, Boxing Day also became a public holiday in Scotland in 1974. And the origins of Boxing Day aren't clear, but it said that the wealthy residents would allow their servants to visit their families following their hard work on Christmas Day, and in recognition of their efforts would present them with a Christmas box. So that's maybe why it's Boxing Day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I doubt many families still had servants here in the 1970s.
I can't imagine that.
No. But in the rest of the UK, Boxing Day had been observed as a bank holiday for almost 100 years more, so in the 1870s opposed to the 1970s. So maybe that's where that tradition comes from, opposed to specifically here in Scotland. Mm-hmm. But in parts of Scotland, Boxing Day can also be known as Sweetie Scone Day, and similarly to the Christmas boxes, sweetie scones are said to have been given by lords and ladies to the hard-working staff and those less well off. So nowadays, Boxing Day is a time to relax, let children play with their new toys, eat all of that leftover food from the day before. It's very popular across Scotland to even make a curry with the leftover turkey and vegetables from your Christmas dinner. So much so that our favourite Scottish crisp brand, Mackie's, have just released a Boxing Day curry flavour crisp. And we were hoping to get some today so we could try them, but I think they're so new that they haven't even hit all of the supermarket shelves.
Yeah, they're not even in the Co-op in Duns.
I know, so that's our local supermarket.
Yeah, but we are really excited to try them though.
Yes, so we'll have to get back to you, and if you try them, let us know what you think.
As if we've come right back round to food again as well.
Oh, there's always a connection to food, especially in the holidays.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
So moving on to the Daft Days. The phrase Daft Days describes the fun and merriment of the 12 days that run between Christmas, New Year and the first Monday of the year, known as Hansel Monday. The phrase was originally made famous by 17th century Scots poet Robert Ferguson. This whole period is known as the Daft Days because it is given over to celebration, merriment and excess, with many people having the licence to act in daft ways.
Yes, I mean, I think we've seen a lot of that over the years, haven't we?
Yeah, definitely. Last year, poet Len Penny wrote A Toast to the Daft Days, which was used in the Lidl Christmas advert. Len is a strong advocate for Scots and has gained a loyal online following for her modern-day Scots poetry. I caught up with Len to hear all about her fascination for the Scots language on Another Thing About Tartan. So we'll link it in the description for you so you can go and have a little look.
Yeah, well, and it was great. And like you say, she's so interested in the Scots language. Yeah. And a lot of it, I'm like, how do we even understand what that means? So, you know, she's done a great job to raise kind of the profile of the Scots language. And I think some people think of it just as slang words when actually really it is a traditional language.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, it was great to see her in that advert and, like I say, talking about those Daft Days.
Exactly.
So, of course, we couldn't do a Christmas video talking about Christmas traditions without mentioning the famous man himself, Father Christmas. So around the world, he's known by so many different names. St. Nicholas, Santa Claus, Kris Kringle, Papa Noel. But here in Scotland, we simply refer to him as Santa. And one of my favourite Christmas songs is by the Scottish Quest All-Stars. And in that, they even claim that Santa's a Scotsman. After all, he does enjoy a dram of whiskey and a mince pie or two. So maybe there's some claim to that.
Yeah, makes sense. Another character we couldn't possibly forget about is the reindeer. Where would Santa be without his reindeer? The claim that Santa is a Scotsman could in fact be true, as the only reindeer in the UK live in the Scottish Highlands. The 150-strong herd roam the Cairngorm Mountains and can be visited all year. The reindeer have been in the Cairngorm since 1952, 6 years before Christmas was even a public holiday.
Wow.
Maybe Santa just needed time to train his reindeer?
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah. Mikkel Yutze and his wife, Dr. Ethel Lindgreen, were the co-founders of the Reindeer Company, and whilst on their honeymoon, very quickly identified the Cairngorms as an ideal place for reindeer to be.
Oh. So, speaking on the subject, he said that looking across the Rothy Marcus Forest to the Cairngorms from the railway bridge at Aviemore on a cold morning in 1947, he was instantly reminded of the reindeer pastures in Lapland. And the species of ground rock, tree lichens, which are elsewhere the chief food of reindeer, were plentiful and of little use to the other animals. So, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
And he was obviously aware that it might seem far-fetched to bring reindeer by ship from Sweden to Scotland, but reindeer are actually native to Scotland, with records from about 8 centuries ago of reindeer and red deer being hunted together in Caithness by the Earls of Orkney.
Wow.
So, who
That's
knew?
interesting, yeah.
Yeah, but I can't imagine how easy it would be to get reindeer in a ship.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. I don't know if they'll be importing any more reindeer, but
that might have been a difficult enough challenge the first time.
I think so. So when the reindeer arrived in Edinburgh, they had to quarantine at Edinburgh Zoo for 28 days before being released into the Cairngorms.
Sounds like nice.
Exactly, I know, we're all used to a bit of quarantine. So yeah, I feel sorry for those reindeers having to do that. But seeing just how cute the reindeers are and having looked through their photos as we were researching for today, I definitely want to pay them a visit.
Yeah, me too.
Exactly.
They're so cute.
Yeah, so if we could have got one on the show, that would have been even better. But yeah, if we make it there, we will film it and show you all those reindeers in person.
Yeah. So, moving on to one of my all-time favourite Christmas traditions, decorating the tree. As we discussed with Mistletoe, the tradition of bringing greenery inside during the winter months is a long-standing tradition, but Christmas trees didn't become popular in the UK until the Victorian era. Queen Victoria grew up with the tradition of decorating a tree thanks to her Hanoverian ancestors and German mother. But it wasn't until Prince Albert, also of German descent, who was particularly fond of the tradition, took on the role of decorating the trees at Windsor Castle, that this became popular and spread rapidly across Britain.
Oh, a bit of a trendsetter then, as Prince
Sounds
Albert.
like it, yeah. So while Victorian trees featured candles, sweets, fruit, homemade decorations and small gifts, today lights, baubles and unique decorations are more commonly seen. My mum even started a tradition when I was born that she bought me and my sister a new tree decoration every year so that when we moved out we would have our own collection of tree decorations.
Oh, that's such a nice tradition. Yeah. So you moved out last year, didn't you? So have you decorated this year?
No, I haven't used them this year. It feels too real to actually use them.
I suppose. Yeah, I guess. But they're going to be special, aren't they?
Yeah.
You've had them your whole
life. I wish
I'd
thought about it when I was younger though, so that they would all match. They're all very random.
Okay. But I bet they all have a good story.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Speaking of the Victorian era, this is also when the modern-day turkey dinner replaced goose as the preferred festive feast. And it seems to be when mince pies that we explored earlier transformed from the meat pies into our modern-day sweet treats.
Okay.
So again, the story of how that transition came about isn't very clear, but definitely seems to have been around this time.
Mm-hmm.
So the most significant transformation during the Victorian era was the idea of Christmas centering around the family, and as well as preparing a feast and decorating a tree, gift giving, entertainment and parlour games all became essential traditions for the whole family to enjoy. And A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens is said to have encapsulated the joyful spirit of Victorian Christmas, popularising these traditions and forming much of what we recognise as a traditional Christmas today.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, but I know that turkey dinners are really traditional here in Scotland and the UK, but obviously over in the States, with Thanksgiving being so close to Christmas. I think people seem to have their turkey for Thanksgiving. And then I don't know that there's, I mean, correct us if we're wrong, but I don't think they have such a set meal that everyone would have on Christmas.
Yeah.
When I was speaking to Kaylin, she said sometimes it's ham and other meats. So yeah, for us, we couldn't think of anything but turkey for Christmas. But over in the States, that seems to be more for Thanksgiving.
That's interesting.
I suppose you don't want to have the same meal two times in
like
a month. Yeah, so maybe some people do if they like Thanksgiving so much.
And if they really like turkey.
Exactly. And I think some of maybe the accompanying dishes are maybe a bit different. But yeah, for us, turkey is the way forward. And our pigs and blankets that we have here are different to the States too, aren't they?
Are, yeah.
So for us, it's little sausages wrapped in bacon, but I think in the States, that's hot dogs wrapped in pastry. So yeah, if you're coming for a Christmas here in Scotland, you might need to...
a bit different.
Yeah, have a look at those menus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no denying that Christmas truly is the most wonderful time of the year. And with celebrations centred around the family, what better a time to get the clan together, celebrate your Scottish heritage and pay homage to some of these traditions.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Do you and your family have your own Scottish traditions? Let us know in the comments. However you celebrate this year, we wish you a Merry Christmas. And make sure to tune in next week when Kaylin and Monya will be exploring the Scottish tradition of Hogmanay.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting one to
definitely.
round off the year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like Amy said, have a great Christmas and thank you all for joining us tonight.